Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com, thechrisvossshow.com. Coming to Versus comparison we're going to be doing for you. It's April 2013 going into May, and we've reviewing two of the latest phones that have just come out this month, the Samsung Galaxy S4 and the HTC One. Now, these are two powerhouse latest phones that are on the market, and definitely rockers. They have 1080p screens, 1080p front-facing cameras, super fast processing chips in them, and are really built to rock and roll. The Samsung S4 still has the same build size, a little bit smaller, of the S3, not by much, and the HTC One is definitely a well-presented device, very well built, and really solid. And the S4 kind of has still the plasticky feel that some people complain about, but the S4 is very feature-rich in its UI. It's feature-rich in its photo editing capabilities. It's feature-rich in apps that they put on it. It's got so much stuff on it. It's crazy. We'll get into that. The HTC One kind of still has an improved UI from HTC. I've never been a big fan of their UI. I think it's missing some features and stuff, but we'll get into that. But it does have front-facing speakers, which I really love. The build is really solid on it. And it's got a rock and roll screen, definitely more pixels than the S4. Camera on the HTC One, much less than the S4. We'll get into that. So let's take a look first at the specifications on both these devices and compare them side by side. So with the Samsung Galaxy S4, we're looking at a size of 5.38, 2.75 width, and 0.31 in inches with a 4.59 ounce weight. On the HTC One, we're looking at a 5.41 height, 2.69 in width, 0.37 in inches. Very similar in these phones. 5.04 ounces in weight. Now, the screens are different. The screen on the HTC One is a 4.7-inch screen, while the size of the screen on the Samsung Galaxy S4 is a 5-inch screen. So much bigger on the Galaxy. You can see they're about the same size, so it's amazing that Samsung packed in all this stuff into it. Both are 1080p screens. One big difference is the Samsung Galaxy S4 has 440 ppi, comparatively 468 ppi with the HTC One. I really do love the screen. They've gotten spoiled with the higher quality PPI on the screen. Of course, it is a little bit smaller, so there's a trade-off there. Now, the Samsung Galaxy S4 is a capacitive multi-touch screen with Super AMOLED technology, 6.7 million colors. Well, the HTC One has the SLCD3 capacitive multi-touch screen. You can decide which one works best for you. Now, the HTC is running off of Android 4.1.2. It's upgradable, and it also has the HTC Sense 5.0 UI. On the Samsung Galaxy S4, it comes out of the box with the latest 4.2.2 in Android, so that's very nice. It's got the latest stuff there, and it's also got the UI, I believe it's called TouchWiz, that they have with the Samsung, and it's pretty freaking brilliant from what you'll see here in a bit. Battery capacity, 2,600 milliamps on the Samsung S4, 2,300 milliamp hours on the HTC One. I gotta tell you, with both these phones, they burn about 25% faster than most Android phones. That's just my estimate, 20 to 25% faster, especially if you use them a lot. The 1080p screens, the faster processors, definitely make both these puppies warm up and definitely give you a run for your battery life. But there's different things that you can take and do. Now, the Samsung S4 has got a removable battery. The HTC One does not. So let's get some more in details on both these devices. Now, the hardware that's in the Samsung Galaxy S4 is a quad-core 1900 1.9 gigahertz Kraut 300 with 2 gigabytes of RAM. Comes in 16 gigabytes, and I believe you can buy it in 32 also. And you can put a micro SD card into it up to 64 gigabytes. Conversely, you can't put a micro SD card to expand the memory in the HTC One. It does come with pretty good memory, though. It comes with quad core 1700 megahertz, which is a 1.7 gigahertz, a little bit slower processor than the S4. 2 gigabytes of RAM, comes in with built-in storage of 32 gigabytes, and it's got maximum user storage, it says here, 26 gigabytes, so that's very interesting. Now, with the Samsung Galaxy S4, you're looking at a 13 megapixel camera, and it's a pretty awesome camera from what we'll show you later on. It's got 1080p HD video recording, 30 frames per second out the front and out the back, and 2 megapixels out the front. Comparatively with your HTC One, what we have is what's called, fix that. We have what's called an 4 megapixel ultra pixels camera. Now, it's a kind of an interesting concept that HTC has put this in. I wish they would have put a 13 megapixel camera, to be quite honest with you. It does have front facing and rear facing 1080p HD camera with a 2.1 megapixel front facing camera. But the 4 megapixel ultra pixels really just doesn't cut it for me. It does okay. It's kind of made for people who are real happy putting up dumbed down quality pictures on Instagram. Not to say they're dumb, just low quality Instagram type pictures that you're not going to win photography awards for. The Ultra Pixels does work good in low light as advertised, but it seems to be that's about it. You do see in the low light when you blow it up a lot of the breakdown of the photo. And in video and everything else it takes photos in, we'll get to this in a bit, it does a good job. It does an okay job. I mean, you can't lose a 1080p video, but I'm excited about the camera being 4 megapixel. It gets by. If that's not a huge thing for you, the HTC One might be for you. They both have NFC technology chips and everything else. They're very fast at doing hotspot and all that good stuff. So let's get into more of the details of both these devices. Now, you can see, let's go ahead and take a look at the build of these devices. You've got sensors all on the front here. Now, the sensors on the Samsung Galaxy S4 do a lot of different things. There's 4 of them that I can count across the front, and then you have your front-facing camera. Along the HTC One, you have 2 sensors there, and you have the speaker, one of the speakers that's front-facing, and the front-facing camera. You can see here the build's very different. One has the Gorilla Glass 3 on it. The other has this really beautiful solid aluminum style build, and they both have really good screens to them. So we'll hold the screens up to one another so you can kind of see the Samsung S3 is definitely, of course, much bigger, being a 5-inch screen. You can see the real difference there. I believe we should be able to see a little bit difference in the width, but not much. It's very minimal in the size. Down at the bottom on the S4, we have the home button. We have a capacitive touchscreen with menu and back options. With the HTC One, we have a capacitive touchscreen with a back button and a home button that acts as several different ways depending upon how you touch it. It will do menu and everything else. Across the top, we have a very interesting thing with the Samsung Galaxy S4 that you find. We have a hole for the earphone, of course, right here. We have this small microphone hole, and guess what? This is pretty interesting. This is an IR blaster that can, where you can use the phone to change the channels, turn off and turn on your TV, etc., etc. Very, very cool. They've got some software built into that we'll get into. The HTC One has the button on the top for the power and the earphone button on the top also. Down the left-hand side, you can see there's a power button, or I'm sorry, this is the right-hand side. You can see there's a power button, and there's also a really beautifully finished design they put on the volume rocker button that I really like. On the bottom, you can see here there's a small microphone hole for the Samsung S4 and then the charging sync port. And on the HTC One, you have the charging sync port and a small microphone hole. Down the left-hand side, you can see we have a SIM card tray on the HTC One, a volume rocker button on the Samsung Galaxy S4. And that pretty much does it for the sides. Across the back, you can see we've got a very big aperture sort of camera eye, which is bigger than the S3. We've got your lamp that's here, very powerful lamp on the S4, I should say. And then we have your speaker here. On the HTC One, we have a lamp flash here. We have your camera eye here. We have a forward-facing microphone, which is really smart when you're videotaping stuff. We have Beats audio on this, which enhances the sound, and I like Beats audio. It's pretty cool. Both have kind of a different build. You can see this has got this great aluminum back, where this has the plastic back. Really beautiful build on the HTC One, the way it's cut, beveled, and edged. It reminds me a lot of the white iPhone 5, if not more so better. It's just really beautiful in its build. Feels like a rock solid phone. The Samsung S4 does kind of have that plasticky feel again. They've made the sides wider though, where they're kind of thicker in the plastic, so they don't feel as plasticky. It fooled me at first that it might be aluminum, but it definitely works for the Samsung Galaxy. Now, there's so much stuff in the Samsung Galaxy S4. I think shaming this phone as a plasticky phone that you wouldn't want to buy is pretty silly and stupid, actually, in my mind, for what you get inside of it. But let's look more into it as we go into these phones. Now, the one thing we do want to show you here, of course, you cannot remove the back of the HTC One, where with the Samsung Galaxy S4, we can go ahead and remove the back. We can flip out the battery. Samsung's even selling a special device where you can have a spare battery charging in a little holder on their website. You have the place where you have the SIM card here, of course, and the expandable memory for the micro SD card up to 64 gigabytes. Okay, folks, so here you can see we've done a Geekbench 2 on both these devices. They score really, really well. To give you an example, the iPhone 5 scores around 1,500. The Galaxy Note scores usually around 1,900 to 2,000. I've seen it up as high as 2,100. These phones are really, really fast. Basically, the Samsung Galaxy S4 is twice as fast as the iPhone 5. Very, very speedy. Now, you can see here it's got a score of 3,074. I've seen all the way up to 3,250, and I've seen this one all the way up to about 2,700 in change. So they both are very fast in scoring incredibly well at the top of the charts. I'll page down through this so you can see the comparisons. Obviously, the HTC One is going to be a little bit slower because it has a 1.73 gigahertz processor, comparatively the 1.9 roughly gigahertz processor. They both have 4 cores, so they're both very fast. You can see the S4 using a little bit more memory too. So you can compare these two side by side, and like I say, you can pause this video at any time so you can see the comparative notes. I usually don't pay too much attention to all this stuff. I'm looking at the overall scores and how they do and all that good stuff. So very, very fast devices. Okay, so taking a look at the figures, just rock and roll figures you're seeing coming out here. The Samsung Galaxy S4 has a score of 24,793 using AnTuTu version 3.3. And on the HTC One, we got a score of 19,667 with the HTC One. Massive, massive scores here when it comes to benchmarking. Okay, so let's talk about both these phones' UI, their operations, and everything else. What we're going to do is we're going to move one of these to the side so that we can take a look at just each of them individually. Now, we have the Samsung Galaxy S4. I really love the UI on it. It's very feature-rich. It's so rich. It took me 2 days to figure out everything and learn everything, and I'm still kind of learning how to use it. Lots of apps, lots of camera stuff you'll see in our camera view, etc., etc. Now, with the Samsung Galaxy S4, it has a really cool drop-down menu. You can see here it's got the quick edits across the top, and you can very easily get into the quick edits and do stuff. You can even break them down as a whole. One of the challenges you have with the S4 is it's very lame on the notifications. If I want to change anything other than the power save off, I've really got to go into their menu system and do that. I haven't been that excited about that feature, and I really do love the Samsung. The Samsung does have, when you double click, it has the S voice, which is really nice to be able to talk to it. The HTC One, actually, when you double click, defaults to Google Now, which doesn't seem to work as good for me in opening apps and everything else like I can open with the S4. Now, you can see here it's got an infinite scroll menu where we can swipe from left to right. You can, of course, do all the different things that you can add to stuff. It's really kind of interesting. This here you can see is one of my storybook albums. I'll show you how that works in a second. But this rotates some pictures of my dog albums. There's also a Walking Mate app that counts your steps that you do on any given day and monitors your health, etc., etc. very cool integration that we'll show you. Now, with the device, you get several different things. This thing is crazy what's inside of it. You got your Wi-Fi settings, your GPS, you got Bluetooth you can easily do on the fly. Let's take a look at, looks like it wants to scan for stuff, so we'll go back to our menu. You can see here we've got blocking mode they've added to this that comes with the other Samsung products. I can take and block people that notifications that are coming in so that I can keep doing my stuff. I've got a power saving mode. This actually gets me a lot of mileage out of my batteries. Screen mirroring, where you can easily mirror your screen. Multi-window. Multi-window is pretty awesome, where you can put two screens on the same screen in either portrait or landscape. Really awesome. You can basically be watching a video while you're answering your Gmail. S-Beam, which is really cool and communicate with other S-Beam Galaxy devices. NFC. You can turn your NFC chip on and off so it's not draining your battery. This is really unique. They got Air View, Air Gesture, driving mode, which talks to your text to you and emails to you as they come in. Smart stay, so what it means is it will stay on as long as it can see your eye. Smart scroll, which either by your eye looking down or up, you can page up and down on the device, or if you tilt the device, there's two different menu changes here you can go through for tilting the device. You got airplane mode and sync, of course. Very feature rich in the products. Now, it's got a lot of really cool technology that's very interesting. And unfortunately, it only works with a few apps, so it's not quite as cool as one would think that it originally would be with some of these devices. Let's make sure that we got everything turned on. Air View, Air Gesture. Now, what the Air Gesture and Views will do is they'll make it so that if I pan my hand back and forth, it will flip through photos. If I want to hold my finger over pictures, it should take and expand them and highlight them. You can see that there. I'm not touching the screen at all, just hovering right over it. Same thing with text and stuff. I can hover over it and have it blown up. You can see here, I think we got some of the page up and page down motions that are going on here once we go over the sensor. So very interesting. It watches your eye. You can see that I didn't touch the screen. It's going up and down based upon the movement we're giving it. And of course you can go left to right. It's very cool. Usually it only works when you're in your photos. And I think there might be some other apps. I've heard it works in Flipboard, but I couldn't get it to work in Flipboard for me. So let's see if this will work for us. I don't think this will work in the Storyboard app. We'll try it in the gallery and see if it works there, which I know it works in because I've tried it. So you've got your gallery here of your photos, and just some really interesting, very cool things they put in here that are super awesome at integration for your stuff. I'm not sure if we locked up here or what we're doing. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we'll take and go into this, and you should be seeing here by me swiping the screen, we can go back through photos. Very cool and very interesting. It takes a little while to get used to, and you kind of have to get kind of acclimated to it, and it takes a certain bit of talent, but it is cool when it works. I'm still learning how to use it properly. You can tell it's taken me a while to play with it. So it's not very intuitive, and just figuring it out. But they have several different things that come with it that are pretty amazing. I'll just give you the rundown through them. You can look some of the stuff up. They have quick glance, air jump, air browse, air move, air call accept, which is where you can accept a call by waving your hands over the screen. You have Air View, which does an information preview, progress preview, speed dial preview, web page magnifier. Just really crazy stuff they put in the UI. Now, let me show you some other stuff too. This is one of the reasons I really like Samsung's product and what they do. Very feature-rich settings on what you can take and do, and going in and being able to adjust them. I can go into several different things: blocking mode, accessibility, motions and gestures. I have a whole different customizable thing I can do with motions and gestures in here. I have a whole different thing I can do with Air View. Just really feature-rich on voice control that we have here. Feature-rich on a lot of different things that you can do in the settings. and a lot more control. And I just really, really love the experience and the richness of the Samsung UI. One of the challenges that I have with the HTC One is the UI. You can see your pages from up to down as opposed to left to right. It's not an infinite scroll, so once you get to the bottom, you're kind of stuck there. Let's go back to settings. And you can see they have a very plain UI. It's just a one-pager. There's not much detail to it. There is some stuff in display, buttons and gestures, but it's pretty simple. It's very simple UI. Does it work? Yeah, it works fine. Now let's talk about some other things that come with the Samsung that's very cool. They have some apps that are installed. Now some people don't like these apps, call them crapware. AT&T, of course, has its stuff here. But the apps are really neat that they put in. There's Group Play, where you can take and share music and videos amongst each other, and take in, I believe it's up to 3 devices you can take and do. You create your own group and everything else, and that's very neat and interesting. So you got that. You've got, let's see, what else are we looking for here? Oh, you've got this thing. It's called the Optical Reader, and this thing will read QR codes. It will also translate stuff for you into different languages, which is very interesting and cool. I mean, they really, I just feel like Samsung just threw everything in here, including the kitchen sink. We have S Health, which helps monitor how much you're walking, calories you burn, everything else on here. There's also the Samsung apps, Samsung Hub, Samsung Link, which links with other devices that are Samsung. You've got story albums that you saw the dog album that we had. You can create an album, different albums of your stuff that are on the camera, or on the device, I should say. There's also S-Translator, where you can take and, you can see the Samsung link there with Samsung devices. And there's Translator, S-Translator, so you can get stuff translated for you if you're on the go in other countries. There's S-Memo, of course, which is pretty normal. I like S-Voice. It's basically the Siri of Samsung Galaxy S4. And the other thing we have, there was a video editor you can download, which I found really cool. But there is what's called Watch On. And by clicking on Watch On, this is basically works through the company. I believe it's Peel or Peak. This works through, but you can set it up to where you're using that IR blaster that's on the top. You can literally control your TV. I had my TV working in just like a minute or two. It was really simple and easy, very intuitive. And so you can basically, you can tell what what photos or what TV shows you like. You can also integrate with Netflix, which is really cool. And you can basically go, hey, what's on today? It integrates where it tells you, you tell it what service you're using, what area you're in and your zip code, and you can basically control your TV. It's pretty freaking awesome. I'm pretty impressed with all the stuff they threw in. There's a separate area for videos where you can just hit videos and go to your videos. You don't have to fight your way through the gallery anymore. You can just get to your videos. I really, really like that. There's the voice recorder, of course, that comes with the Samsung and voice search. So it's really feature rich when it comes to all the stuff that's in the Galaxy Samsung. You can see the UI is very rich. I love being able to adjust this stuff on the fly because I can easily power the device down, quit wasting battery and energy, and at night I can put it into power saving mode, which really helps me in keeping the battery life up on these devices, especially with these screens. Beautiful screen for gaming and everything else. Very comparable to the HTC One. They both have incredible, beautiful screens. Now let's go to the HTC One. We're going to talk about it here. They have this new kind of Facebook, Twitter, and I believe LinkedIn or YouTube integration. That's this, I forget the name of what they call this, but it's basically kind of this weird paging down system. And you can see updates from your social networks on it. It's okay. I like it, but it's certainly not as good as the Facebook Home. Facebook Home is much more impressive. And of course, you can page to right, and of course here you can do widgets and everything else that you would normally do with your Android phones and be able to customize them. I would call, people might hate me for this, but I would call their apps on here crapware. The calendar and all the different little things on the HTC are just really simple and kind of junky. I'm not real impressed with how they did the apps on it. There's several different apps they put on here that almost just seem like they were just trying to throw stuff on. The messaging seems very cheap. I believe there's news and weather. Sorry, let's see. There's news and weather. There's notes. Let's see. There's a real cheap browser, mail. What else is on here? There is an FM radio on here, by the way. So that's kind of interesting. You do have to plug in the earphone jack. I don't know if that's so it can have an antenna, but yeah, you can use that. That's kind of cool. But I mean, really, FM radio. Where are we going? Back in time? The calculator here is one of the crapwares they put on your calendar. I just don't like them. I just think they're very cheaply and poorly done, not very well thought out or beautifully designed, as you find with the Samsung and other devices. You've seen the UI that I'm not really excited about, the drop-down notification menu. Not real excited about. I have to go into settings to be able to adjust stuff. So those are some real downturns for me for the HTC One. The HTC One does look really beautiful on the Facebook home settings, which you can't get on the S4 right now. Hopefully that will change. So it's really up to you to decide which one works best for you. Okay, now, so the camera on this thing is feature-rich. If you saw the presentation of the Samsung Galaxy S4 announcement, they built so much stuff in here. It's crazy what they built in here. So you have a very rich, customizable, feature-rich experience with the S4. You're going to hear me keep saying that pretty much all the time. It's very easy to quickly get through their menus of switching cameras around, going through different settings, being able to have verbal commands to take photos, etc., etc. You just full control of everything and anything when it comes down to it. I like how they've taken and merged the camera and video. You can see you can adjust all these different things into the device, and then you've got your basics with the video there, and GPS tags, review, off, white balance, just tons of features that you can take and utilize with the S4. Now, they've got some other cool things that we saw in the Samsung Galaxy camera that I use that I really love. These are like preset modes that you can take and enjoy. Different things like sports, fast movements, panoramas. There's the eraser feature, which you saw in the announcement for the S4, if you saw it, where you can erase moving objects from your backgrounds. Rich tones HDR, which comes out really good. Animated photo. This is pretty neat, where you can control the animation or things moving in a photo. Drama shots. So if you want to create a drama shot like you see here, of something moving left to right or right to left across the screen, you can take and do so. Sound and shot, which is really cool. You can enrich your pictures by adding background sound. Best face, you can pick the best face out of a crowd or out of a crowd picture that you're taking. Best photo, beauty face, and of course the easiest one is auto, where you can take and do the auto part and we're actually trying to do something here. Let's see if this will do this for me. There we go. You can see all the different ones that they have. So you've got your camera here. You've got your video here. You've got the ability to get into your gallery here. Let's talk about some of the different things here. There's auto night detection that they have on it. You can, of course, control your flash. This is really great. I use this from time to time. It's voice control for different things, so you can set up voice control for not only incoming calls and everything else you saw there, but for the camera to say what you want to have said. You can control the recording mode for MMS, slow motion, fast motion. These are actually really cool features, these fast motion, slow motion to use. I've used them on the Note, and they're really cool. If you've got like dogs or something, you can make them do that. You can see here we've got different share features where you can automatically share shots, buddy share, everything else. It's really amazing, the stuff that Samsung really puts some thought into their camera work. And I've been really impressed with it, especially with the Samsung Galaxy camera. They brought most of that over here to the S4. Now, let's take a look at some of the pictures it does take. In video, in complete darkness, these pictures were taken on this video, and then the next one you'll see, this is complete and utter darkness. The lamp on it is incredibly bright and does a great job at lighting up the whole room. You can even hear me say, "Wow, I'm really surprised at how bright it is." So it's very bright. lamp. Here's a photo taken in complete and utter darkness. It's coming in great with the focus. I think it did like a double shot on me where it flashed the flash and got the focus, and then it shot the flash again and got the picture. I'm pretty sure that's what did take place. Now these are in well-lit situations, and we're just taking a look at some color here with the video. Video's really good. Of course, it's 1080p, 30 frames per second, and the colors come in extremely rich. It's got a beautiful, beautiful color grid to the color dynamic, color grid, whatever you want to call it, to the Samsung S4. So let's take a look at, here's a picture that we're seeing here of the same thing. So we're seeing some of the colors. Now, the 13 megapixel is pretty freaking amazing. Look at this. You can see really good picture of my dog, but I want to show you something. When you zoom in really close, can you see that? You can see little drool spots or dirt or, you know, doggy drool spots or something. Who knows what it is on my floor. Is that freaking crazy or what? So you can zoom in this big picture, and it just takes incredible shots. 13 megapixel, you can't really beat it. Well, I mean, you could beat it if you had a DSLR, but when it comes to mobile phones, really great stuff. I mean, it's picking up all the dirt on my floor. So it's got a great camera to it. It seems to work in all different cases, low light and everything else. Comes across real well. This is a low light shot that we took. You can see Abby came in pretty well in her look. You can tell it's a low light shot from the way it came out, but we're still very well in focus. It's a great picture and everything else. So thumbs up on the camera. Really love the camera, and it's very feature rich and customizable. Okay, so let's talk about the HTC One camera. Okay, so with the camera, what you're looking at is it does have the 4 megapixel ultra pixels. It doesn't take the greatest photos in the world. Even with the low light situations, you're going to see some of them here. It takes okay photos, not the greatest. When you blow them up, they don't look all that hot. I'm not real impressed with it. It takes okay photos when it really comes down to it. They do look very pretty when you're out in bright light. That definitely makes a difference in the camera. I don't see anything extraordinary about the camera that would make me want to buy this over other devices. It does a good job of capturing beautiful video. It's 1080p. I mean, what can you say? 30 frames per second, and it does capture a lot of detail. So I can't say anything bad about the camera. I would have liked to have seen an 8 megapixel or higher 13 megapixel camera on this, but this is what they decided to go with. I don't really notice a difference. It's really hard to tell. From my understanding, there's some software that's going into creating the pictures to be better, and as you can see here, they definitely are pretty beautiful and very detailed in the aspect of what they're able to pick up. We were out filming some bees, as you can see here, and the bees actually, if you look very closely, come in pretty sharp. So does the rest of the pictures and the petals of the flowers and these green parts over here. So pretty interesting that way. Let's see if we can get out of this. And let's flip through some more of these pictures. So the camera's good. I mean, I'm not as disappointed as I thought I would be, given this supposed to be like, what, 4 megapixels or something like that. You can see here we're getting really good detail on these things, and really what it's targeted for is a market that just wants to do cheap, dumbed down Instagram photos anyway. So you're not going to buy this to do award-winning photography anyway. The flash and the lamp on the camera are awesome. Here's a dark, completely blacked out situation in a closet. You can see it lit up fairly well. Here's a video situation where we're in a completely dark environment. You can see here the lamp is very powerful, lights up very well. You can even take photographs while you're doing video and while you're replaying video. So that's a very cool feature they can have. So we're fairly impressed with the camera. I don't see anything bad about it that I don't like. It does seem to do a good job. I really don't know how it stacks up against other cameras until we do our full comparison, but I tend to like it. And let's take a look at how the camera works and what its setup is. Now, once again, their UI is a little little light and a little odd compared to what I'm used to with the Samsungs. You can see here you've got a zoom, you've got a button for clicking for camera and video, you've got your ability to adjust your amp or your lamp, if you will, here. The filters, there's some various filters you can take and do here, and of course these are pre-filters that will change the shot, and you can do that. You see those in most Android products. On the camera, of course, you adjust the front to the back. It's kind of buggering that I got to go through a menu to do that, whereas most Androids I can just click on something and it'll flip the cameras very fast. You've got scene, night, HDR, sweep panorama, different self-timers, crop. You can adjust your video quality and of course your photo quality, ISOs, white balance, all the normal things that you get with Android stuff. It is a little light on features though compared to some of the other Android phones that I've seen out there. But you know, it's a very fast, very speedy camera. It does have a fairly fast shutter speed to it. I believe there's some software that's going on, so there's a slight delay after you click, but it seems to take the picture fast and then generates the photo internally. So I'm fairly impressed with it. It looks like a great camera. Nothing bad to say about it as far as I can see. So overall, all in all, I've liked both phones. Both are wonderful, incredible phones. It really just comes down to which one you want. Some people have really enjoyed the front-facing speaker of the HTC One. It's very fast. They love the screen. It does integrate with Facebook Home right now, where you can't get it yet on the S4. So a lot of people really love the phone. They love the solid build, and it's very good for them. A lot of people like the Samsung S4. It has an incredible UI, ton of customizable features, a ton of really cool apps, ton of photo editing, and everything else. Very impressive on the camera, 13 megapixels, but it really is up to you and what you feel might work best for you. And it also is probably going to depend a little bit on what carrier you have. Both these phones are available through AT&T at AT&T.com. Our good friends over there. Tell them Chris Voss sent you. Chris Voss tested, Chris Voss approved. Be sure to check into the Chris Voss Show often, like this video, and subscribe to us on YouTube so we can keep bringing you more good stuff and comparison videos. Stay tuned. No flicking. Keep watching.